It's where all the cool kids go. The friendly info will show you around. We reward him with the fresh souls of our customers. Candles, t-shirts, branded tees, and so much more. Lights on deck, horror shop you will never want to leave. Your friendly info will show you around. We reward him with the fresh souls of our customers. Candles, t-shirts, branded tees, and so much more. Lights on deck, horror shop you will never want to leave. Watching movies with a dead chick and the gang, funny, strange, hysterical, or just plain bang bad. This weekend just got amazing. It's a watch along weekend. Horror and sci-fi, comedy and more. We got it all this weekend. This weekend just got amazing. It's a watch along weekend. Horror and sci-fi, comedy and more. We got it all this weekend.
Howdy, gang, and welcome to the Pieces Watch Along. And we're going to be getting to this movie here really soon. If you've never seen Pieces, I feel like you're in for a treat. I want to thank everybody that voted for this particular film for me to do a watch along for. And I would also like to apologize for not being able to do the Terra 10 Killer watch along as I had originally planned last night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And that is because I was in Tennessee with Steve. We were visiting Steve's friend Lee and his wife. And we were having such a good time that we stayed a little bit longer. And it's almost 3 hours going there and coming back. So we got a late start coming back. And Steve said, well, it looks like we're not going to be home till 9 o'clock. And I was like, well, I think I better reschedule this watch along. So we're still going to have it next Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time will be the Terra at 10 Killer watch along because you guys and gals voted on it. I want to make sure we do it. Unfortunately, it wasn't unfortunate that we were getting to go visit somebody and have a good time because everybody needs to do that and decompress. And I also have fun doing these watch alongs. So I did not want, the opportunity to go by to do a watch along for Terra at 10 Killer, which is just hilariously bad. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that watch along. So next Saturday, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, that will be the rescheduled Terra at 10 Killer watch along. We've got voting going on right now for 3 movies apiece for the April 5th and 6th watch alongs. And I'm going to be trying something a little bit different. This is not going to be like a every weekend thing or anything like that. It'll just be, here and there. And I'm going to call these childhood nightmares watch alongs. And I got the idea for this where I can't find out where it's streaming at. So I don't know what, you know, they had this article, Dread Central had this article that the film from 1982, it's a made for TV movie called Don't Go to Sleep, starring Dennis Weaver and Valerie Harper and Ruth Gordon. And it was a movie that scared me as a kid. And that's why I'm calling these watch alongs childhood nightmares. And Dread Central did an article on the 22nd that said that it was streaming for free. Now, I cannot find it on any streaming service, including Tubi, for free right now. Because as y'all know, Netflix is not free, Shudder's not free. So if it's on those, then that's not free. So I looked on Tubi, I tried other avenues, and I could not find it. The only place I can find this movie, and I would not call that streaming, because I found where somebody had put it on YouTube 11 years ago. So it's not a new thing. It's something that me in particular, as a person that enjoyed this movie, even though it frightened me as a kid when it came on TV, it was one of the most frightening made for TV movies that I remember seeing when I was growing up. And it's still unsettling. It doesn't frighten me like it did when I was a kid. But I thought it would be a good one to kick off the childhood nightmares. And again, these are just going to be just randomly will pop up whenever I feel like doing one of these, or whenever I think of a movie that would fit the bill for childhood nightmares. Okay. So, I'm not sure exactly what day I'm going to do this. What, weekend. It's probably going to be an in-between weekend where, when I regularly do them, it's not going to be on those weeks. Okay. So it'll probably be an in-between week. So be on the lookout for me to be scheduling the first Childhood Nightmares watch along for Don't Go to Sleep from 1982. For those of you that have not seen it, I want to have this watch along packed. I would like to have all of my watch alongs packed, but beggars can't be choosers, right? So we've still got, some cannon fodder going on, some Dick's Picks going on. They're all messed up. All of that. Hopefully me and Candace will be able to have a Friday Foolish this coming Friday. It is my hope. Keeping my fingers crossed. And also be on the lookout. This is not going to be a live stream, folks. And here's why. And I'm not giving people any attention on this, okay? Which is the big reason why I'm not doing a live stream. Because that just invites, nefarious people to come in there and be jerks, okay? And that's all I'm going to say about that part of it. But be on the lookout for a video that I feel like I need to do. Not just for myself, but for the people at large out there. And it's going to be something called Straight Talk. And it's going to be about AI. It's going to be about AI, artwork, AI music. It's going to be all things AI. So AI, if you love it, you hate it, you're on the fence, you could care less about it. I want everybody to tune in, but like I said, I'm not doing it as a live stream because live streams, a live stream like this, I want people to come in here and talk about the movie with me, right? But when I'm talking about something like AI, which almost seems universally hated, and I can't figure out why. I even talked to my boss at work about this, and he's like, I don't hate AI. And I said, well, you're one of the few. And I've seen some really, like asinine comments made. I saw this one on Twitter recently that really got me going, and it wasn't directed at me. I was like, where in the hell did this come from? And somebody just blurted out that I think it's okay to mock somebody and call them a baby for using AI. I'm like, how does that even make any sense? You know? And then people were liking it and stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is just insane. So, if you're interested in what I've got to say about that, be on the lookout for that video to be coming up soon. There's also going to be movie roulette coming up soon, the first ever movie roulette. Thank you to my husband. Thank you, Menelect, for also picking a movie. I'm going to be talking about A Night to Dismember and Signs, an M. Night Shyamalan movie. And A Night to Dismember is one done by Doris Wishman. And if you don't know who Doris Wishman is, please look her up. Feel free to look her up. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else announcement wise that I want to bring up. Oh, please go over to deaditesondeck.com for all your horror and non-horror needs, because I do custom work as well. Okay. So, come on over to deaditesondeck.com, check out what I have. Tell your friends, tell your family members, because like I said, it is a horror shop, but I do custom work. So there's a nice, neat little form on the homepage for Deadites on Deck, and you can tell me what it is that you would like me to put on a t-shirt, a hat, a candle, whatever. Okay, and I will get back with you with a quote, and we'll see what we can do for you. Okay, and just wanted to get that out there. I also have a couple of promotions going on the site right now, or the shop right now. Candle Craze 25 promo code at checkout, and you will be able well, yeah, the poet, I was doing that, but now what I'm doing, and I'm glad you brought this up. Now I'm giving y'all choices for the watch alongs, and there's a poll on YouTube on my channel. So we're not doing the $5 and you get, a watch along pick. Now, if you give a $5 super chat or more during any of my live streams, including these watch alongs, because they are live streams, you can pick any movie on the planet that you want me to review. It can even be one I said I hated in the past, and I will watch it. Okay, because I'm not a huge fan of A Night to Dismember, and I've seen it before, but Steve picked that one for his pick for movie roulette, and Menelect, bless its heart, gave me a $7 super chat, and he gave me a $7 super chat before then and didn't even pick a movie, but he gave me a second $7 and he picked Science. So that's what I'm doing now. But the poet, thank you for bringing that up, because that made me it made me think that I needed to mention that. So the Candle Craze 25 promo code at checkout on the Deadites on Deck shop will get you, and you can get a buy one, get one free on candles. I also have another promo going on, Slasher Spring 25. If you spend $30 or more on the shop, you can get $10 off your order. So just wanted to remind everybody about those couple of promotions that are going on right now on the Deadites on Deck horror shop at deaditesondeck.com. Again, share the site with your friends, your family. Even if they're not horror fans, let them know I do custom work, okay? I can put your pets, I can put your grandparents, I can put your parents, I can put you and your significant other on shirts and hats and all that. I can put your kids, your grandkids, like I said, your pets. I can even put your pet goldfish on there. If you want to send me a picture of your pet goldfish, I'll put that on there. So probably gonna have to get up and let Zozo out. Um, one moment, please. Zozo, you gotta go outside. Anybody that's got dogs knows that you have to watch out for those dogs, because if you don't let them out when they need to go out, you'll wind up with something to clean up eventually. So, well, we'll go ahead. I'll give everybody a couple of minutes that's going to be watching along with me for pieces tonight. I am using the Grindhouse Blu-ray Pieces. It's exactly what you think it is. And the other tagline is, you don't have to go to Texas for a chainsaw massacre. This has been one of my favorite films for as long as I can remember. I've been, pretty much a lifetime horror fan. I sometimes joke that I came out of the womb like in horror films, which is not entirely true because I don't remember when I came out of the womb. So, but it's just a little joke. But anyway, I am queued up about 10 seconds in on this Blu-ray. It says Boston 1942. It's got the house in the background. And this is not a very long movie, about an hour and 26 minutes and 52 seconds. So not a long movie at all. And we don't have a lot of people talking in the chat, which I want a lot of people talking in the chat. But if we don't, I'll probably be getting off of here pretty soon after the watch along's over. And I realize this is Horror Hound weekend. There might be a lot of people that are still at Horror Hound. This was the last day. They could be on their way home from Horror Hound. So, it could be possible we don't have very many tonight. But as always, I try to be here when I, say I'm going to be here and doing these watch alongs when I say I'm going to. So I'll give everybody about a minute more. And like if some people come in here later, I can give them a timestamp. And if anybody wants to join me on the stream at any point in time and can behave themselves on here, I would love to have you on here. Just let me know and I'll make sure I get that link to you, barring it not being like a few seconds before the film is over. So about 7:19, we'll get started here. That's usually about, 7:15 to 7:20. I like to get started with these watch alongs. But again, to Poet, thank you for bringing up the other $5 thing I had, because it jogged something in my memory. Oh, I didn't remind people about the movie roulette. But I hope everybody's had a nice weekend. Me and Steve are on vacation this Monday through Friday. Steve will have the weekend off this following weekend. I have to work Saturday for 4 hours, but if you got a week off, you can, or I feel like I can handle it. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started here. When's the next movie poll? Well, actually, the movie poll is going on right now, to Poet. So if you want to, after this watch along or whatever, if you want to hop on over to the channel on YouTube and check out the poll, you can vote for the April 5th and 6th watch alongs. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started here. Let's do the countdown and get this party started. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Press play. And we're off and running. Like I said earlier, Pieces is one of my favorites from my childhood. I can't get enough Pieces. And this woman looks like a nice, friendly mother. She's coming in there and watching her son put a puzzle together, right? We're seeing some polka dots there, so maybe it's a clown. Maybe he's putting a puzzle together of the clown. The mother's getting closer here. She don't look happy. Oh no, he's putting together a puzzle of a naked lady, and gosh, she slapped the fire out of him. She says, that's filth. You're going to be just like your father. Yeah, I don't think she likes her husband too well there. Oh, that's nice. I'll kill you if I ever find trash like this in this house again. And she calls him stupid. I think she calls him stupid at least twice here in this beginning sequence. And this looks like the kid's room. Why is all this stuff like, I'd say she's not a good mother. Why was she allowing this stuff to get collected in the kid's room? And then she wants to come back and slap me. Oh, okay. So here's the first, big kill. This kid's like axing mommy to death here. And this, another title for this is The Night of 1,000 Screams. Yeah, there's a whole heck of a lot of blood on the walls. Mommy don't look too good right now. And the nosy neighbor, a la Mrs. Kravitz. If you don't know what the Mrs. Kravitz reference is, that is from Bewitched, I believe. Good old Jack Taylor, Paul Smith, Edmund Purdom, Ian Sarah. For those of you that have watched a lot of horror movies or, some of these foreign horror movies, those names will be familiar, as well as Christopher George and Linda Day George. Now this kid's sawing her up, and he looks like he's really enjoying it. I lost several people. I lost like 3 people once this started ends. I don't know what that says about the movie. Now, I actually have a full-size puzzle. Well, I have a puzzle that came with my Arrow set that I got that is in a box that looks just like the box in the movie. And then I also got a puzzle that looks like this one from Messed Up Puzzles. I could highly, highly recommend them if you like to put together jigsaw puzzles. They got a lot of cool horror related ones. There's a nosy neighbor again. She's evidently called the cops because she can't get anybody to come to the door. And this was directed by Juan Piquer Simone. And so they opened the door. Oh, there's Mommy's head in the closet. Mrs. Weldon. I don't think this old lady acts nearly as upset as she should. They open the closet and there's a severed head in there. So where's the kid at? Oh, there he is. And what a little liar. He's saying a big man came in there and killed his mommy. So this is one version. This is the Night of a Thousand Screams version. Now, if y'all are watching the actual pieces titled version, you may have been treated to some music by Cam, whoever Cam may be, um, which I think I probably just picked the wrong one, which I could probably. Hold on just a second, folks. I think I'm going to get back to the one that I'm normally used to. I just wasn't paying attention whenever I picked this. So bear with me just a second, folks, okay? I'm going to try to skip ahead a little bit. Okay. So I'm where they've opened the closet and the kid comes out and says a big man, killed his mom. Sorry to kind of switch it up on you folks, but that's what I get for doing things too quickly. And this is probably the version that most people are going to be watching. Now we're getting to how I remember this coming on, which says Almania Productions, says Pieces, has like a meat cleaver there. Says starring Christopher George. I know this is probably not the original way that this came on, but this is the way I remember it when I was a kid, and this is the credits that I love. So we're seeing Linda Day George, Christopher George, Ian Sarah, um, Jack Taylor. Music by Cam. When I was a kid, naturally I thought Cam was a real group. And the screenplay is by Dick Randall and John Shadow. So I'm going to be talking about Pieces because it was also produced by Dick Randall and Steve Manasian. And directed by Juan Piquer Simone or J. Piquer Simone. And now we're to 40 years later. Somebody's breathing very heavily. And so they've got a new box now. And I don't want to give away who the killer is. Some of you may know, some of you may not know. Some of you, this may be a first watch. So, I don't want to spoil anything. That's right, dear. Jumping Jack Taylor. My husband's in here, folks. I didn't even know he was watching me tonight. He's already in bed. So we see that the killer still got mommy's shoes and her. Like, I don't know how he got this stuff. Like, how. I know horror movie logic, but as a kid, wouldn't people think it was strange? I want mommy's dress. I want her bloody dress. I want her bloody shoes. And by the way, I want a headshot of the actress that played my mommy, just so I can put a big red X on it. And so for the longest time, and people might think I'm stupid, but for the longest time, this chick here that's on the skateboard, momentarily she's going to have a little accident on that skateboard. And I always thought, well, what happened to her? Did she die? Did she did she go to the hospital? What happened to her? And Steve said, no, she's the one that shows up later on laying on the lawn at the college studying. I was like, oh, okay. So this is the accident that I'm speaking of. She's screaming. She runs into this mirror that these guys are carrying out of the truck. And then we see the killer again. And I guess okay, so he had mommy stuff in one box, but he still, I guess, got the puzzle with mommy's blood on it still in the other box. So here's the chick laying on the lawn. Steve told me, yeah, that's the chick that just ran into the mirror, just ran into the glass. So we have someone starting up a chainsaw. She's obviously, frustrated. And she's asking him, are you going to be long? If so, I'll move. I'll go somewhere else. And the guy's like, just a few minutes, miss. She's still trying to study. And oh, no. Well, off with her head, right? This is a very bloody movie. If you don't want to watch a bloody movie, then you don't want to watch Pieces, okay? So there is Mr. Christopher George, and I believe Frank Brana, I believe is the other gentleman's name there. I'm talking to the dean's secretary at this college. We're supposed to believe that this is a college in Boston. But this is obviously a Spanish-made film. And there's Mr. Edmund Purdom. I love Edmund Purdom, by the way. I love Christopher George. And I find Frank Brana, I find him eminently entertaining as well. So Edmund Purdom is the dean of this college. Okay. This is great. So have you ever been laid on a waterbed? And she says the most beautiful thing in the world is smoking pot and fucking on a waterbed at the same time. It's like the most nonsensical dialogue I've ever seen. And there is Jumpin' Jack Taylor, speaking of him. And she's, trying to, I guess she's trying to get him turned on or something. Because she wants to know, where are the pectorals? And he's like, yeah, right here, So, and then he just, walks away. She says, well, all my friends say that mine are funny. Let me check on Zoe real quick, folks. Zoe. Zoe. Come on, girl. I didn't know it was raining so hard. I tell you, folks, we've had so much rain here as of late. Ow. Hit my elbow. Well, I think it's just absolutely pouring down. So it's probably a good thing I got Zoe in when I did. So Jumpin' Jack Taylor is in here with Edmund Purdom and Christopher George, Frank Brana, and Christopher George and Frank Brana play two cops or detectives or whatever you want to call them. And they're there at the college because some chick just got her head cut off, right? Edmund Purdom's a very nervous individual in this movie, by the way. And y'all may hear thunder in the background because even though it's been raining most of the day, it picked right before I wanted to do this watch along to start thundering. And it's cold outside. I don't get it. So Jack Taylor's saying, I don't remember the girl, this girl that got her head cut off. And she was in my class, but I don't remember a lot about her. And Purdom's like, oh, come on now, Arthur. You can show these men around the college and you can show them whatever they wish to see and tell them whatever they wish to know, right? And so there's this running joke between Christopher George and Frank Brana in this, and that you will periodically see Christopher George take a cigar out of his jacket pocket, and he tries to get Frank Brana to give him, a lighter, a match, or something. And, Frank Brana eventually says, give it up, Lieutenant. So I'm assuming that he's supposed to be quitting smoking. And for those of you that are connoisseurs of horror movies, by this point, you would have already seen Christopher George, more than likely, in The Gates of Hell, City of the Living Dead, whatever title you might know it under. Christopher George was also in Mortuary. Right before he died, unfortunately, he died of a heart attack at a quite early age, in my opinion, which is sad for a lot of reasons, but sad for us horror fans because think of how many more movies he could have done had he lived. And there's Paul Smith. Playing Willard the gardener. And Purdom's like, when do you expect that you're going to be done here? And people will remember Paul Smith from a lot of different things, but Popeye is one where he played Bluto in Popeye, but he's been in a ton of other things, including, I just talked about him in regards to Bullbuster, which was a film that Dick Randall produced. I think it was The Last Dick's Picks. That was one of the films that I talked about, which unfortunately you cannot find an English dub. You cannot find with any sort of subtitles, even auto-generated subtitles. But it's a good movie nonetheless. Okay, this is Ian Sarah here playing Kendall. And I don't know if it's just me or what, but he looks so weird here. He looks like he doesn't like girls. But, we're going to find out that obviously he does like girls. And I don't know what it is that Kendall's got, if he's got a golden member or what it is, but all these chicks are crazy over Kendall in this movie. Okay. So you should have not missed the trash there, Kendall, because the killer is finding your note where the blonde chick that just left was saying that, She wanted to do it underwater. She wanted to do it in the pool with Kendall. So Susan, the blonde hair, is going to go get in the pool because she's, she's been studying European history and she's tired. And she wants to have some fun now. Hi there. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, so I may just call you her if you don't mind. I think I know how to pronounce it, but if you don't mind me calling you that for short, that'll be cool. But good evening. You say I was recommended your channel, and and I'm glad I'm checking you out. Well, thank you. Welcome. I hope you keep returning. I've got lots of content on the channel now and trying to put new content on there all the time. So for you fellows that like seeing skin on lovely ladies, we just seen this chick take her top off, but I think something's going to happen to her here really soon because we're seeing the killer creeping in. I can't say, I mean, I can say why this is important to a horror film to show some female skin. But, there's people in real life that either swim partially naked or fully naked. And I never understood that. I mean, is it more fun that way or is it more pleasurable that way? I don't know. I just never felt comfortable enough to do that. Go in there sans bathing suit. So the killer is put a net over Susan's head and is, pulling her to the side of the pool. And I wonder what they are going to do with her because they've already cut off a head, right? And it appears that every time they cut off a body part, as we're soon going to see, they put another part of the body of this puzzle together, right? So it appears, and it will appear, and it may have already appeared to some of you. Oh, yeah. That the killer's trying to put mommy back together, basically. Yeah, that's right. Who gives a shit? Because she gave him a withering look. So, what do y'all think of Kendall's sweater there? Yeah, I don't know. So, we're hearing more of that heavy breathing from the killer here. And, I guess this is not a Giallo per se, but I was trying to find Steve's copy of pieces that I had given him when I got my new copy. And I said, I can't find it, Steve. And so he said, well, maybe it's in my Jallos, even though it's not really a Jallo. And a lot of people would say it's not a Jallo because there's not really slashing going on. The killer's using a chainsaw. But the wardrobe of the killer is very, in my opinion, Jallo esque. You know, you have like a trench coat on, you have the black gloves, you have the hat going over the face of the killer, and you see that the killer is storing um, all these different body parts in a big old freezer. Where they got this freezer at, I don't know. Oh no, okay. So Kendall automatically thinks that poor old Willard is the killer just because Willard having to come in there with some garden shears. There's a bloody chainsaw there, and there's a cut up body over there by the pool. So evidently, Kendall went to get the cops, and he's hitting Willard with a 2x4, and Willard's throwing these cops all over the place. And Frank Brana says, hold it or I'll blow your brains out. Like, and if you're at home and you're listening to the dialogue for this, the English dub, um, you probably got to laugh because some of the dialogue is just, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Some of the dialogue is just hilariously bad. Where'd Jack Taylor come from? He's just showing up all over the place. Oh, I guess I guess Christopher George asked him to come, but there is a scene later after a murder, and Christopher George asked Jack Taylor, he's like, "Where did you just come from?" And he says, "Huh?" He said, "Where did you just come from?" Because he's wondering why, why do you keep showing up like this? It's weird. And they're like covering up everything in plastic, and he touched the weapon. Could have destroyed some evidence, dude. And he just says, "Oh, I'm sorry." And they just got one body part laying there on the stretcher. I mean, wouldn't you just get a body bag and just like throw all that stuff in there? It's like she's not alive. We don't need a stretcher. So now they're talking about putting some undercover agents in or at the college. Yeah, that other kid is Myron, or they call him Goggles. I'm assuming because he's got glasses. So, something else that I really like about this movie is that it moves quickly. It doesn't waste time. Because when you watch a movie like this, you don't want long, boring parts where people are just standing or sitting around talking. Now, it does have these talking scenes, but they don't last very long. Um, and then we're kind of getting set up for another spectacular kill, right? because when we watch a movie like this, that's what we're looking for. Or that's what I'm looking for. As a horror fan, that's what I'm looking for in something that's called pieces. I want to see some damn pieces, right? I have seen some movies where they give you a really good title and it's boring as all get out, right? And nothing makes me more angry than a horror film with a really spectacular title that makes you think you're in for something really great. And then it's just boring. It's just one long, drawn out scene after the other. And you might get one or two kills in there. And by then you just don't care. So Pieces delivers the goods. And that, you know, when we sit down to watch a movie like this, we're not looking for great acting. We're not looking for Citizen Kane like scenes. We're not looking for a bunch of exposition. We just want a little connecting thread to connect you till the next kill, right? And you know, if you think I'm wrong, tell me, hey Dana, I think you're wrong. But that's just how I feel as a horror fan, as a lifetime pretty much horror fan. That's what I was wanting out of these things. There was nothing else that I was wanting out of it. If I wanted something else, I would not be watching a film like this. I would be watching Citizen Kane. I'd be watching something classic movie, you know. I would not be watching something called Pieces. Um, these are these popcorn movies. These are the ones that you like. Let's say you've had a really rough day at work. And believe you me, I have had some rough days at work. More, you know, sometimes I feel like more than my fair share, but that's probably just me just feeling that way. But everybody has rough days at work. And I think if somebody says they don't ever have a rough day at work, they either one are lying or two, they've got the best job ever. You know what I'm saying? And so when I have a really rough day at work, there's nothing better for me as a horror fan than to watch something like Pieces, you know. So on the heels of that, we're getting the super spectacular but kind of corny dance routine here. Sometimes I don't even know what the hell I'm watching with this. Like, again, guys might find this really interesting because it's a bunch of, you know, relatively pretty gals dancing kind of seductively. They're having fun. They're flashing some skin. They got leotards on and all that good stuff. I don't get anything of a sexual nature out of it. I just like watching it because it seems, to me, it seems so out of place in this movie, but yet it's enjoyable at the same time. And we see once again the killer, you know, in their Jallo esque costume or outfit or whatever you want to call it, their Jallo esque wardrobe, I guess. Is kind of creeping around and watching the ladies, whatever they may be doing, they're watching them. And so this chick's still dancing. She's going down the hall to go to the bathroom or the John, as she said. I have never in my life called the bathroom the John. I've never called it the John. I've never called it the head. You know, they're different. And I'm not saying anybody's wrong for calling it those things, but why would you pick the name John for a bathroom, though? Why not Phil and I'm not picking on Phil that comes in here, but or Thomas or, you know, whatever. Okay, so now Christopher George is bringing Kendall to a psychiatrist, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I don't need a shrink." And of course, the guy says, "Yeah, I'm sure, young man, you don't need my services." But he acts as a consultant for the police department, and um, he helps them get profiles of killers sometimes. And Kendall says, "But I don't know the killer, or do I?" And so the psychiatrist says, "Well, you might, but without knowing it." So the lieutenant's got to leave him alone. And again, I have to say, I love Christopher George. I cannot get enough Christopher George in this movie. And there is his wife, Linda Day George. And we're going to see one of the most hilarious scenes in horror movie history. And Miss Linda Day George is a huge, huge part of it. But we're going to wait till we get there. Hey, Blissful. So I'm glad to see a few people in here and some new faces and all of that in here. So it makes it, a lot more fun to have some people hanging out in the chat with me. My husband may have went to sleep now. It's almost 8 o'clock, so he probably has. He probably just jumped in here just for moral support and to say something about Mr. Jumpin' Jack Taylor. But we're keeping on, keeping on. I'm not gonna, just because there ain't a ton of people in the chat, I'm not gonna let that get me down. I'm going to take myself out of the stream just real quick, folks. I'll be right back. All right, gang, I'm back. I got a donut stick. Probably don't need this, but All right, so hopefully y'all kept watching even when I went away. So we're at the tennis scene. And a few scenes before that, or a scene or so before that, I found out that Linda Day George, she's a tennis pro, basically, but she is working for the police department as well, and she's going undercover at the college. That's right, Blissful. It's Sunday. Enjoy. I got a vacation coming up, so I may stay up like late tonight. Just, doing things I want to do, watching movies I want to watch. So the dean is saying, weren't there supposed to be two of you undercover police women on my campus? And she's like, well, I'm afraid there's only me because this is strictly volunteer. And they're going to have to release Willard because they got nothing on him, right? So this lady is supposed to be a reporter for the Boston Globe, and she's wanting to know what's going on campus. And the dean's playing dumb. Oh, I don't know what's going on at the campus. So whoever the killer is, they got some nice digs here, right? They're living in relative comfort. They're still putting the puzzle together. So do y'all get what's happening now? Like first they put the head and they cut off a girl's head. Then like upper torso part, and they got that. Now they're putting arms, so they got to find the perfect arms, right? Because they're trying to build mommy all over again. So this is a girl that was going to the bathroom earlier, but she's evidently practicing by herself. And we all know that in a horror film, you don't want to be anywhere by yourself, right? So once again, the killer's checking her out. And she thinks she hears something or, feels like somebody's watching her, which as watchers of the movie, we know she is. But when she goes to check it out, she doesn't see anybody. So I guess she's thinking, it's getting late. It's creepy around here. I'm going to get out of here while the getting's good. And so, as we all know, this shots of showing the killer's feet coming in and out of doors and stuff like that. And then we go back to the chick getting ready to leave. And of course, that's building tension, right? Is he just going to come in there and just kill her? Is he going to bide his time? What's he going to do? Where is he at in this building? And she, of course, is getting more and more nervous. She's hurriedly putting her clothes on and getting ready to leave. So remember when I told y'all how fast this movie moves? We're already 43 minutes into an hour and 25-minute movie, right? And this is why I always go back to, no offense to the Terrifier movies. I just did a watch along not very long ago with Hope for Terrifier 3. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed doing that watch along with Hope. But the point being, I don't think that horror movies need to be as long as a lot of them are now. There's simply no reason for a slasher and or gore film to be any longer than an hour and 30 minutes at best. Maybe a little bit over, maybe an hour 35 or something. But you just don't need them to be 2 hours, 3 hours long. You just don't. In that case, I think that's just overkill. That almost, and no offense to Damien Leone that did the Terrifier movies, because he's not the only one doing movies like this, right? But I just feel like sometimes they're stroking their own ego and stuff like that. It's an ego thing. Or I gotta have all this time so I can gross people out. But we'll get back to into the movie. So, oh no, she's stuck in the elevator with the killer, and damn, he just lopped off an arm. And Kendall's out there playing with his motorcycle, and the cops are coming. I don't know where Linda Day George is in all this. She's supposed to be helping out too, but strangely, she's not here. These two cops are completely useless. We'll just send Kendall in through the window. That's all right. Well, chances are you guys are going to be too late. She just got an arm cut off. Right. Oh, no. That does not look good. And then that guy pukes. That's something I don't like to see in a movie. I can tolerate a lot of other stuff, but watching somebody vomit is just nasty. So here comes the lieutenant and his assistant or his partner or whatever you want to call it. So miraculously, this chick is supposedly still alive after getting both her arms cut off. And the lieutenant's saying, I want a guard on her 24 hours a day. And here they're bringing her out. And lieutenant's saying, what are her chances? He says, massive shock, loss of blood's done the rest. Blocked her nerve centers and all that. He said, not a chance. I'm sorry. So she's as good as dead, right? So this is the part where I was talking about. He's like, "Where did you come from?" And he's like, "Huh? Where did you just come from?" And Christopher George, as a lieutenant, he's pretty much no nonsense guy. He's just like, "I'll be talking to you later, dude." And there's the dean being extra nervous again. So the lieutenant's saying, "I need all the help I can get." So he's asking Kendall to keep his eyes and his ears open. And he says he knows he shouldn't be asking him to do this, but this killer is driving him crazy. He doesn't know where to turn, who to who to get for help. So he tells his partner, "I want you to do full background checks on all the staff." And he says, "Use the whole budget if you need to." And he says, "Okay, Lieutenant," and he laughs and says, "I knew you'd like that." So this is like this is almost like a Scooby Doo moment where it showed everybody. Okay, so now here's Kendall again, like God's gift to women here, getting it on with another chick. It's like, I don't know, I don't get it. He's not a real sexy looking guy. I mean, you see his member there, but I'm just like Kendall's just not doing it for me, folks. And so if that's a chick's room, I don't know why, unless they were big time horror fans like I always was and still am. Why would there be like Friday 13th and all that stuff posters? Except that I know Steve Manasian had something to do with Friday the 13th. Um, and so he had connections with Dick Randall. So maybe that's why there's a Friday the 13th poster up. So now we see Linda Day George carrying around a flashlight, creeping around, and it looks like the killer's out there too. So are they going to get Linda Day George? And remember when I said Linda Day George was Christopher George's wife? So they were a package deal on a lot of movies for unfortunately a short period of time because, like I said, Christopher George passed away in the early 80s, right around the time I think Mortuary was finished. So we saw somebody run by, but that obviously wasn't the killer, right? But it's somebody running around there. I'm going to tell you something about this guy when he shows up. So, okay, this is a martial arts dude, and he was one of the Bruce Lee clones. Anybody that knows anything about Bruce Lee, or after Bruce Lee passed away, his untimely passing, they made these movies with the Bruce Lee clones, and there were a ton of them. And Dick Randall was kind of the forerunner for producing those types of films. I can't remember if this was Bruce Lee. I want to say it was Bruce Lee, one of the more famous Bruce Lee clones. And he's playing Kendall's kung fu professor. So Kendall's telling Mary, Linda Day George's character, that the lieutenant asked him to keep an eye on her. Hey, Chris. So she tells him, next time you're going to come and save my bacon, don't be riding this motorcycle because it sounds too much like a chainsaw. Exactly, horrible fridge. It's exactly what you think it is. That is exactly right. I'm glad to see you in here. I saw that you had commented on some of my other things. Yeah, Chris, I wish I could have been a horror hound this weekend too. It looks like y'all had a great time. I had a great time yesterday in Tennessee with Steve, but hopefully I'll get to go to the September horror hound. Oh, thank you, horrible. I'm glad that you like the soup and jowls. I've got another one I got to put together and put out here really soon. So we're soon, most of the kills in this movie during the bulk of the movie are done with a chainsaw. And we just saw a flash of the chainsaw there. But this is that nosy Rosie Boston Globe reporter. And she's about to bite it, basically. Um, and so you may think that the killer's naturally going to use the chainsaw. But keep in mind, the killer is using the chainsaw mainly to get body parts to put mommy back together. So chances are pretty good that he's not going to want any body parts from this chick. She's just too nosy. They want to get her out of the way. So they're probably going to use any other, implement of death other than the chainsaw. Um, Chris, you say, yeah, I'll be talking about tonight on my channel at 10 p.m. I'm going to show off all the stuff I bought. I didn't hurt my wallet too bad. LOL. And by the way, folks, Chris has a fantastic channel. Y'all be sure to go over there at 10 p.m. Eastern time and check out what Chris is talking about. And, it's going to be entertaining. I've been in, witness to several of Chris's streams. Um, I even popped in when he did here recently where he was talking about Horror Hound. And Chris, I'm sorry I didn't make myself known, but I was just in there for just a few minutes and I had to get off there and do something else. But I always try to support Chris when I can. And you guys should too. He's got a lot of good entertainment out there. Okay. So back to pieces. Like I said, they're not going to use the chainsaw on her. They just got a big old knife. Where's that knife going to go, I wonder? Well, they're stabbing her, pretty much in the neck and chest now. This is still pretty bloody. And she's still fighting. I mean, this is actually a very bloody scene for him just to be using a knife. Like I said, this chick might be nosy, but she's a fighter. Oh, oh, yeah, right through the back of the head and out the mouth. That's still a great kill. Chris, you say I'll also be doing reviews for Thriller, A Cruel Picture, and Hell Night after I talk about the Horror Hound stuff. Cool. I mean, if you can stand the, um, you know what? I'm not going to use that word because YouTube doesn't like you to use, but the R word that rhymes with grape, revenge films, Thriller, A Cruel Picture. It's not a easy watch. I'm not even going to lie to you guys and gals, but if you have watched some of those, Thriller: A Cruel Picture is one that you should check out if you haven't seen it. Hell Night's also fantastic with Linda Blair on it. And Linda Blair was at this past Horror Hound too, as well as Christina Lindbergh from Thriller: A Cruel Picture. It's like, damn, that's a heavy duty freezer this person's got. Like, where would you have something like that? I just couldn't imagine somebody having that in a regular house. And there's the surrogate mommy that the killer is putting together. And you know, a lot of these killers have mommy issues, right? So we're seeing that they're putting together the legs now on the puzzle. And now you could probably guess in what order the killer is going to get their body parts now, if you've been paying attention. Now, I'm going to warn everybody, if you have not seen Pieces, this kill is very realistic. And when it happens, I'm going to tell you why that it is so realistic. I mean, I always, for years, I wondered how they did this one. Okay. So we got the chick in the shower. She's kind of pissed off because they're playing that music of when she lost against Miss Riggs, against Mary, Linda Day George's character. That music was playing. And so somebody was playing that music again and it pissed her off. So she kind of just like threw down the tennis ball and she said, well, you know, forget this crap. I'm going to go take a shower. How did Brink get in here? Brink's in here laying on the floor by me. So keep in mind the killer's wanting legs now, right? So what better legs to get than a tennis player's legs, right? I guess the only other legs that would be better is maybe a runner's legs. But they probably want them to look more, you know, more feminine and not have a lot of muscles on them, like extra muscles. That is right. Horrible. Jack Taylor, Mr. Brown is also in Edge of the Axe. That's also fun. Edge of the Axe is very, very fun. I absolutely love that movie. So we're seeing the tennis player getting chased topless. And of course, they can't, Mary and Kendall can't hear her screaming because of that loud music. Uh, oh, yeah. And so we had the double humiliation of her peeing on herself. She's so scared naturally that this chainsaw's coming through the stall of the bathroom that she urinates on herself. So coming up here, this is the very realistic kill. There we go. Now, does that not look real? That looks real to me. All right. And the reason why that looks so realistic, for those of you that are watching along, is because a slaughtered pig was used for that. Now, you know, the animal was already deceased. So at least it wasn't really, you know, slicing through a live animal. And I don't, you know, like the thought of them, you know, what happens to these poor animals in slaughterhouses and stuff like that. But I'm just saying that was one of the most realistic kills I have seen in a film. I mean, it literally, to me, looked like the chainsaw was going through that girl's waistline. So Willard shows up again, and she's like, Mary's like, that music's driving me crazy. And I already thought that they heard us scream. So Kendall's going to go investigate on his own while Mary and Willard are trying to figure out how to turn this music off. And Willard says, well, these aren't my keys. And she says, don't touch anything. Don't touch this board because, and he goes ahead and switches the music off anyway. Willard's not listening, but he don't care. But he's wondering, how did I get these keys and where did my keys go? So now where did Kendall go? So they're looking for Kendall. Mary's saying, Kendall, Kendall. So coming up is going to be one of the most hilarious scenes in horror film history, courtesy of Miss Linda Day George. So he says there's another one in the locker room. It's Susie Billings, and he's got blood on his hands. So Mary's going to go in there, and whammo. And he's going to ask her, you see it? And she's like, yes. Well, we were out here fumbling with that music. The lousy bastard was in there killing her. And here it goes, bastard, 3 times, each with a little more oomph to it. But it's so great. So then we get the lieutenant saying, that girl was cut in half while she was still alive. Horrible, you say, ha ha. Yeah, the screaming a bastard 3 times with more force each time is just, I don't know. I'm sorry. Maybe I have maybe I'm a terrible person, but I just find that just hilarious. So um Frank Brana's character, he's burning the midnight oil. He's trying to help the lieutenant. No, it's classic. I always did think it was classic. Most people that I talk to that are horror fans think it's classic too. My own dear husband thinks it's classic. So Lieutenant's gonna get Frank Brana's character some help. He's gonna have Kendall come help him. Hey Maxwell, you say I couldn't stop laughing the first time I saw that. Yeah, I don't think there's too many people, unless you just really don't have a sense of humor, that would not find that funny, especially the first time you see it. So, problem, as you can see there, the killer's finding out that the feet won't, mommy's shoes won't fit those feet that belong to the tennis player. So the killer's going to have to find some new feet, okay? So they zoomed in on Mary's feet. So guess what? We can pretty much figure out that the killer's going to go after Mary next because he wants her feet, right? So here's more Jumpin' Jack Taylor here, as Steve likes to say. So Jack Taylor gets a little bit nasty with her here. He's like, you should know better than to pry into the personal lives of your colleagues. And then when she says, there's a maniac on campus, I'm just trying to see where I stand here, he just kind of just up and walks off. And then, Kendall startles her a little bit. So he's going to help Sergeant Holden. That's Frank Branagh's character. So she's going to want to go see the dean tonight. And she says, I'll see you later, Kendall. And I have heard that there was supposed to be a love scene between Mary and Kendall, but I'm really glad that they did not do that. I'm glad they didn't go in that direction. So we're over an hour. We're about an hour and 8 minutes into the film. We're getting to the last quarter of it, I'd say. And there's a Ronald Reagan back there on the wall because, yeah, he was president in 1982. And we're supposed to get the impression that not only is this Boston, but that it's the United States. So, Juan Piquer Simon, Juan Piquer Simone, the director, really wanted to make this look as much like the United States as he could. And Horrible mentioned that, Jack Taylor was in Edge of the Axe, and Edge of the Axe is a Spanish horror film as well. So there's the dean, Edmund Purdom. So at first she's hesitant about coming into the dean's quarters, said the spider to the fly. Come into my parlor, said the spider to the fly. And but then she's like, I'm being silly, aren't I? So she comes in there and he says, I'm making tea, but he says, I'd expect you prefer coffee. And she says, that'd be fine. So he's going to, go make her some coffee. So all of a sudden, the dean's acting like extra nervous here, right? So she's saying, cream, no sugar, maybe a little saccharin. Saccharin's nasty, by the way. I hate saccharin. So what's he putting in there? That don't look like no saccharin, folks. So if you weren't suspicious of the dean yet, get ready to be really, really suspicious of him. Because he just put something in Mary's coffee that I don't think is kosher, right? Yeah. Oh, Tab. I always hated Tab. My mom used to drink Tab when I was a kid. That's right, Horrible. That'll be coming up, that line. That's the effect of the drug I gave you. Yeah. And he says, it's instant, I'm afraid. And she says, fine, I love the cream. And of course, he makes the comment, oh, well, of course, this is New England. Yeah, we're supposed to believe it's New England. And so he's saying, what do you want to talk to me about? And she starts off by saying, Professor Brown, and that's Jumpin' Jack Taylor's character. She's very suspicious of Professor Brown, right? And she sure drinks that coffee really fast, and he's like, he's wanting to give her more, obviously, so he can put more of the drug in it, right? So here we go. Put more of the instant coffee in there. And she says, if we don't find something soon, we'll have to get a warrant and search the entire campus. Uh-oh. Dean doesn't want anybody searching the campus. Because, why? Because the dean's got a little surprise in the freezer. Right? If you haven't figured that out yet. Oh, they're eating Wendy's. That's like the old Wendy's cups and the old Wendy's fry containers and stuff. So they're looking through the entire staff at the college, and Sergeant Holden says, just a slight thing, a name change, but we better look into it. So he's, calling, I don't know, the Hall of Records or whatever to have somebody check something. So there's somebody named John Reston. And so he says, you better keep working. This could take a while. And the guy on the other end sounds like he might drop dead at any time. So all of a sudden, Sergeant Holden's looking a little serious there, okay? So he's going to tell Kendall that the dean's the one. If you haven't figured out, the dean is the one that chopped up mommy and as a little boy, and now he's, I guess, riddled with guilt, and wants to recreate mommy. So he's the one that's been chainsawing women up. And Kendall's like, oh crap, Mary went to see the dean. We got to get over there. So I don't know if this is the second cup of coffee or the third, but you can visibly tell that Mary is feeling the effects. So I don't know why, if Professor Brown was a homosexual, why that should cast suspicion on him. But in this day and age, you really wouldn't want to say something like that. But he does go on to say he almost tried to kill me. He almost tried. I don't know how that works. Almost tried. So she's saying, I feel funny, I can't seem to move right. Linda Day George really plays this up here. And I like the way that when she's feeling the effects, when the dean stands up, it's like he's towering over her. It's like it's a great shot. I don't know if they did that on purpose or what, but it's great. That's right, horrible. I'm very strong, So now he's eyeballing her feet, right? And she's absolutely terrified. And so the cop says, Lieutenant, I thought you'd want to see this telex right away. that it's breaking the college case. So, they got to get over there now. Everybody's, worried. At least this guy's clean. Look at this. He's got the drop cloth out, and he ain't going to be painting. He's like, we don't want to make a mess. Not in my nice apartment here. So we're down to the final few minutes of the film. I hope y'all have enjoyed it thus far. But the fun's not over yet, folks. So he's not planning on using a chainsaw on her either. That's probably the same big knife he used on the reporter, the nosy reporter. And I love this. Like, okay, so they're going up to the dean's apartment. All right. And I love how Christopher George and Frank Brana keep like throwing Kendall back against the wall. They say, you make a good cop, kid, but this is as far as you go. And he's like, you can't do this to me now. And he says, all right, but you stay back. But he doesn't stay back. They keep having to pull him and shove him against the wall. See, Sergeant Holden did it. then the lieutenant was a little more forceful there. So Mary is, she can't move really. Uh-oh. So where's the dean hiding? Where's he hiding at? She's trying to tell him, but she can't move or talk or anything. And so he says, Kendall, see if you can get her up and walk her around. Well, as many horror movies as we've seen, we know it's not all over, right? This is probably the most crazy I've ever seen Edmund Purdle in a movie. But it's great, though. So he's fighting with Kendall there. Mary's fell on the floor. Bam, right to the head. Okay. So some of you may be thinking that the fun's over now. Like they shot the dean in the head, he's dead. Mary's starting to come around. And if you were watching this for the first time, you may think, everything's okay. So they're like, let's tear this place apart. We got to find where the woman that's being pieced together, right? Get it? Pieces. Not only puzzle pieces, but body pieces. So they got to find out where was the dean hiding this body that he was putting together from the different body parts of the women. Boy, you're smooth, ain't you, Kendall? Kissing her hand, stuff. You ain't getting none later, dude. Come on. So now they found the puzzle. Oh no. There's the makeshift mommy there. So now, again, you may be thinking everything's all over, right? Let's see. But we still got about a minute, right? So they're, walking out, and Kendall's going to have to get his jacket. Oh no! She crushed his balls. Literally, she did. And this is the this is the image we're left with, the final image. And then we go to the credits. Lieutenant Bracken was Christopher George. Frank Branham was Sergeant Holden. Mary Riggs. Linda Day. She's listed as Linda Day, but I always refer to her as Linda Day George. Willard Paul Smith. And the Dean, Edmund Purdom. Kendall's Ian Sarah. And Professor Brown is Jumping Jack Taylor. But I will let the credits run out as I always do on these watch alongs. I hope you guys and gals that have hung out with me for the duration of this enjoyed watching Pieces, whether this was a first time watch or you've seen it many times before. I hope you enjoyed it tonight as I helped you navigate through the insanity that is Pieces. But, like I said, it is fun. If you're a horror fan, uh, we're not, that hard to please, right? Or I'm not that hard to please. I don't think I'm that hard to please. Give me something like Pieces and I'll be happy for the weekend. You know, give me 2 movies like Pieces and I'll be happy for a few days after it. Um, you know, Unfortunately, we don't get a lot of movies like Pieces now. We get the stuff that, to me, again, even though I enjoyed doing a watch along for Terrifier 3 with Hope, I did enjoy that, but I don't particularly have much fun watching those types of movies by myself. I like the first Terrifier movie, but I think Damien Leone is just trying to see how far he can stretch the envelope, see what the movie companies will allow him to get by with. I think he's concerned with shocking and nauseating the audience, sickening the audience. And, a gore film is one thing, but these Terrifier movies have become something else entirely. I can't even call them gore films. Because you know, unless you're watching them with somebody and doing a watch along, I don't find them fun. I just don't have them fun or find them fun. Sorry. Um, Now the first Terrifier, I thought it was creepy and scary and gory and all that. But the other ones, I just like it's just over the top. It's just it's just gore and mayhem and torture for the sake of being able to do it. Is how I feel about it. Um, Horrible, you say Pieces is delightful. Thanks for the watch along. I got bored fast with Terrifier 2 and 3. Well, I think because they're just not fun. They're just not fun, Horrible. They're dark and they're depressing and they're, you know, but I agree with you. Pieces is delightful. Pieces is, you know, just having fun all the time, right? Um, so I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I hope everybody else that hung out with me for the duration enjoyed it. And now we're past the credits. So, um, is there anything anybody would like to ask me or ask about things that are upcoming? Um, before I get off here for the night, because um, I didn't want to keep everybody on here for very long unless there was some discussion that wanted to, you know, people wanted to discuss things or they wanted to ask me things. But I'll give everybody about another minute or two and then I'll probably call it a night. But again, thank you guys and gals so much for hanging out with me for this Pieces watch along. I had a lot of fun tonight. As I do with a lot of these watch alongs, I'm hoping that in the near future I can get more people in on the live streams for the stuff that I do through the week. You know, the cannon fodder, the Dick's picks, they're all messed up, all that stuff. So, if you guys and gals that haven't checked out some of that want to check it out this coming week, I would love to have you in there. If you have friends and family members that you think would be interested in my content, please share the channel with them. And in fact, I can share the link to my channel here in the chat. And I'll also share my shop, deaditesondeck.com. And remember, if if you're not a horror fan or you're not a huge horror fan, if you just want some custom work done, a certain picture like of your pets, of your grandparents or your kids, your grandkids, you and your significant other, I can put that on t-shirts and hats and all that stuff, right? So feel free to fill out the form on deaditesondeck.com. And I will get back with you and quote you a price. And if we are all in agreement and you send me some money, I will be glad to make the product for you. I have a couple of promotions that are going on the site now. You can buy one candle, get one free using the promo code CandleCraze25 at checkout, or if you spend $30 or more, you can use the Slasher Spring 25 promo code at checkout and save $10 off your entire order of $30 or more. Okay. So I just wanted to bring that up again. And I guess that is all from me for tonight. But once again, I want to thank you guys and gals that were in the chat tonight. Those of you that may have been watching but didn't feel comfortable getting in the chat, I thank you too. For those of you that will watch this on the replay, I thank you as well. And as always, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do, before I do finally get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Sunday night, folks. And be sure to catch me on my streams and watching my videos in the upcoming week. I should be in a really good mood because I'm on vacation all this coming week. And that's all from me, folks. And I'll see everybody next time.